Hi everyone. So welcome to the Coaching Corner podcast and YouTube channel as well. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll notice that I'm wearing the same jumper as I did this morning because we've recorded two episodes in one day. I was going to take it off and wear something else, but let's not pretend. We're just real human beings here. So I am so excited to be here with Chelsea. And I said to Chelsea before we started the recording, I'm going to have to look at my list to introduce Chelsea because Chelsea is one of us that, and I say one of us because this is definitely me, who is multi-passionate, who has done so many things. And today we're going to talk about her journey. So I'm just going to list out some of the things. So accounting technician, you'll probably add more to this, Chelsea. An artist, NLP practitioner, spiritual guide, coach, and also a published author, and looking at taking that journey further and going more into writing. So, Chelsea, have I missed anything? Are there things that you haven't told me yet?
No, I think that sums me up quite well. The accounting technician was like a previous life of following the shoulds that that you can have sometimes. But yeah, I think spiritual person, writer, artist. Yeah, it sums me up.
I love that. And I love that you've mentioned like when you said the shoulds, the things that like we feel like we should do, or maybe someone else has told us to do, or we think that like we need to go down that route because it is so different to everything else that we've got on that list. Like what made you go down that route? Like what was your should?
Oh, that's the story. Well, first and foremost, have cerebral palsy, so that has impacted my life quite a lot. Growing up, I was different, and all I ever wanted to be was normal. And one of my biggest goals in life was I wanted to work. Because I was always sort of written off of like, oh, you don't need to work, that's what the benefits system is for. You don't have to do any of that. But all I wanted was to work. So in my mind, I was like, well, I need a job, but I'm limited to what I can do. So what can I do? And my art was part of my life then. But of course, a lot of people have the notion of you can't make money from art. It's not a career. You need a proper job. So I was like, well, okay, I need a desk job. So what career path is going to give me those skills that I can do a desk job? And accountancy was one of them. Now, I've been rubbish at maths my whole life. I still am. So I can't quite believe I've actually got the qualification. Um, and yeah, it was one of the subjects I struggled with the most. And I didn't even get a maths GCSE, but somehow I got through the whole qualification and I did it. Um, and I've sort of come out the other end of all that studying because I love learning. So I actually loved the journey, even though it was quite a tough time for me with the challenges I had. I can't do maths in my head like some people can. Just not naturally there. It doesn't tick that way. Um, so yeah, once I'd sort of come out of that, I landed a job pretty quickly. Um, but then soon started to realize of like, if I've got to do this uphill struggle every single day,
Mm.
it's just not sustainable,
Mm.
But people were so proud of me,
Mm.
and you do get that sort of like people respect you more for being an accountant than they do an artist. So,
Okay.
so I was getting that more of a respected of like, I was no longer the silly little daydreamer,
Mm.
with her head in the clouds, which I was as a little girl. Um, I was starting to be respected and it's like, oh, you've got something about you, you're an accounting technician or, going on to be an accountant. So it was that sort of recognition
Mm.
that I thrive from, but my soul, it that told a different story. It
Mm.
really did.
And
And
you can see like looking at this list, I'm like, oh my goodness, like that sounds like total opposite extremes of each other. And it's interesting how the recognition, the external things, maybe even like the financial benefits of it can keep us so stuck. But just like when you said it's not your sole purpose, like I just got goosebumps everywhere because I think that is just so important. Like we talk about like those basic level of needs like the finance, the recognition, things like that. But actually, does it light you up? Does it like help you feel fulfilled? Like what changed? Like how did you know that right now's the time to leave that aside and do all of these things, the art, the NLP, spiritual guide, the writing, published author? Like, how did you know that, like, despite all the recognition and everything else that I'm getting from it, actually, this doesn't light me up. This is the way that I want to go.
um, I really wish I could tell you it was a story of rainbows and fairies of like, oh yeah, I followed my heart now. It started it started with breakdown number one. So
Okay.
I became completely burnt out and fatigued, and I was struggling mentally as to why I couldn't keep going. I'd worked so hard and I'd got all through the college, which I love learning. So now I understand why I thrived in college, even though the subject was way off from where my sole purpose was. It was the learning itself. But in the day to day, getting up and just showing up every single day, it burnt me out very, very quickly. And I just remember thinking, there's got to be more to life than this. I know there's more to life. And there was something inside of me that just like wanted to scream. Um, and I was with my beauty therapist at the time, and she told me she'd seen a medium with her mom, and she'd invited her along to the salon. And I'd always wanted to see one because I lost my mum at the age of 11. So I always believed in angels and the afterlife because I knew my mum was there, but I'd never communicated with her as such. And I very nearly bottled it that day. I very nearly didn't go along, but something in me did, and that was my first time with a psychic medium, and what she told me in that room, she could have never have known or never have found on the internet or anything like that. It was very, very specific information that only my mom would have known. So I knew then that there is life beyond the death of the physical body, and she sort of confirmed what I'd already known. I just needed someone to spell it out for me. So that was the start of my spiritual journey, and my spiritual awakening to sort of leave the corporate life and lead a more um, creative life, because the art was still part of my life then, and that call of just wanting to create and do my artwork and things like that, it was getting much, much stronger. And
Mm.
so yeah, it's kind of been like a mismatch of, healing's not linear, and that this life isn't linear. So all the different pieces came in at the right time when I needed it. And I trained as a psychic medium. I am a psychic medium now, and the events that unfolded from that, I couldn't make up if I tried.
Mm.
It started with an ex-boyfriend of mine reaching out to me on Instagram to say, like he was righting his wrongs, so to speak. Um, and we got talking again, and lo and behold, he was a psychic medium.
Oh,
And
wow.
I'm like, wow, okay, that's something I never expected him to find. And he's embraced that, and he's great at it. So I went to see him, and he did a reading on me, and he's like, you could be you are a psychic medium, and you will be, and you're a very good one, and in 2 years' time you'll be doing this. I'm like, yeah, right. Yeah, I'm like, that's not for me. You have to be chosen.
Yeah.
I knew I'd got healing abilities. I'd always had those. But I was like, I'm not a psychic, you have to be a chosen certain type of person, and he's like, no, no, you don't. And when I got home, I was in the Midlands at the time, and when I got home back in Cornwall, a few days later, I went for my Reiki healing,
Yeah.
and I spoke to my Reiki master at the time about what just happened, and he said to me, he's like, I don't usually sort of dive into what people should and shouldn't do, but he's like, you will make a very good psychic medium. And off the back of that, when I got home from that session, at the top of my Facebook page was a post about a psychic medium development circle
Oh,
at, at the place I did my art class.
oh
So
wow.
yeah, so I'm like, I really can't make this up if I tried. And I'm like, I get it, I get the message. So
Yeah.
I went along, and that's how I started my journey. And that's how I got into animal communication as well. I do psychic readings
You
with
never, well, you told me little bits about that because I know that your artwork, there's a lot of it that is focused on animals. So when I like looked on your website, like your artwork is just like phenomenal. It's amazing. And when I looked at some of the animals, I did think because of your kind of spiritual background. Are those animals that are alive that people have like asked you to draw? Or are those animals that have passed and then people have asked you to draw them as like a memory of them?
both. So yes,
Okay.
I've done both. I draw from people's photographs, because obviously I can get an image of the animal, but I can't hold it. So, but I am able to tune in with the energy of the animal when I'm drawing it. So it really helps me bring the personality and the character to life, because I can get a feel for how the animal was or is, or and sort of like the little quirks that they have, which is really lovely to have that connection. Um, and I'm very grateful that I can do that as
Mm.
well. So
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of the commissions are past and present animals.
Wow. And something you mentioned before, like just going back to what you said about your Reiki master, you mentioned that like he said that, oh, I'm not the type of person to like tell someone or like it's interesting because we've had this conversation before about like because you studied the NLP and the coaching side of things. Like how do you find that? Like the telling someone this is what's going to happen, this is like your future, if you like, versus the like helping someone come to their own realization. They're using the NLP, the coaching, that side of things. I know like we've had that conversation before of actually can you use both? Like can you combine both, or are they quite distinct and quite separate?
I think it depends what the person is looking for.
Mm.
That's the conclusion I've come to with it, because yeah, I know we have spoken about it, and it's something I've battled with for a while now, having done the psychic side of things for so long, and helping people with that, and then coming across the NLP and seeing the difference between me telling someone their potential, and sometimes that is all somebody needs. They just need that sort of confirmation, um that that they've got that within them, and they can take that and move forward. But sometimes I can get things that people aren't aware of, so it doesn't quite land, as where the NLP helps the person discover it for themselves.
Mm.
And that's where I've noticed the biggest difference of, like, yeah, I'm talking to someone and they're like, oh yeah, I can take that, I can take, yeah, that makes sense, that makes sense, and then they just go away.
Mm.
As where, with the NLP, I've noticed, the transformation's almost like there and then for some people.
Mm.
That light bulb moment, you see it click. Um, and from my own journey as well, having readings with people and being told different things, I've been as guilty as, of that, of like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, yeah, what, yeah, not whatever, but yeah, a little bit of that attitude. It's like, I get it, but
Yeah.
I'll deal with that some other time. To actually going through the NLP myself and realizing those changes is like, I am the key to all of this. Um, I am the key to my own life, and I think a lot of us look for outside
Mm,
information and validation and things like that, and especially when we're feeling a bit lost,
mm,
um, but it can't quite land.
absolutely.
It doesn't quite hit the spot that you wanted to, and
Mm,
that's because it has to come from yourself. and
absolutely. Yeah.
and that's the biggest difference that I've noticed, and that's why I've gone to um, go on to do the NLP. I originally was doing it for myself, but I've realized the transformations that you can have with people, and
Mm,
that's what I ultimately want to do. I want to help people find their way back to themselves,
oh, I
so they
love
can
that.
like be in charge of their own life. For some, for me, I felt like I wore so many masks over the years of the
Mm,
accountant, the businesswoman,
mm,
the artist, the writer. And I'm like, I just want to take all those masks off
mm.
and just be me.
That's so
Um,
powerful. Yeah, I love that. And something that you said before we started the recording was this, like thinking that and there must be other people out there that might be thinking this, that thinking like I can't do that thing because that is for everyone else. That's not for me. Like, just tell us a bit more about your journey with that. I mean, because you a number one best-selling published author now, like you're taking your writing into all different directions. Like, it literally gives me goosebumps. And just thinking, like, that could be so limiting for people out there to have that mindset of, well, that's for everyone else. I can't be an author. I can't be this person that does all the writing and sells books and things like that. That's just not me. That's everyone else. Like, just tell us a bit about your journey and how you've kind of broken through that to become a number one best-selling author.
I know it seems so surreal when you say it as well. So yeah, writing is like the newest string to my bow, so to speak, and it's one that I thought would never be open to me because I never allowed it. So I, it's always been part of my life,
Mm.
looking back at different avenues, and even in the workplace, I would happily take on rewriting all the SOPs and the manuals, and because I just loved writing. I loved English essays. It's crazy to say that, like, but I did. I loved that, even though I struggled with grammar and spelling because of the cerebral palsy. It came with its cognitive, um, I don't want to say limitations because it's not challenges, you
Yeah.
know. So for many years, I was always a bit behind everybody else, where I should be in like comparison to the markers and everything. But with the technology has allowed me to be, I say, a member of society, you know, especially with AI as well now.
Yeah.
I definitely utilize that as a tool,
Mm.
and it has changed my life dramatically. I tell it a lot of what of the content I put through it, but it just helps me polish it up, and it teaches me, that this is, I ask it to don't just do it for me,
Mm.
show me what you're doing and why,
Mm.
so I can learn from that.
Because you
So
mentioned that learning is something that lights you up as well.
yeah, I've always got some sort of course on the go, whether it's a self-paced course or actual you know um guided course I've always got something on the go, but that's me. I've always been that way. Um, so yeah, writing for me, I always thought it was for other people. I've got close friends who aspired to be authors and who are writing at the moment, and I just felt like, well, that's theirs. I've got my art, I've got my coaching and things like that. I've got other things that I can do. Let them have that.
Mm.
Um,
We were saying it's
and
so interesting, like that kind of let them have that. Like if I do that, it's like taking something away from someone else rather than seeing on their journey and you're on your own journey. And that might involve writing. It's not taking anything away from other people. It's
no,
interesting.
and actually no, we both do it. We're both on our journey, and yeah, she's in a different direction to me, and it hasn't taken anything away from her at all. If anything, it's opened a whole new world up for me,
Mm,
and it's been transformational. It really has, because I'm quite emotional, and I'm learning to navigate that emotion now rather than suppressing it. And
mm,
writing's helping me through that process. It's almost like my emotions got somewhere to live as well as the art. I always say I'm not an emotional artist. I'm not like a Van Gogh, or Winston Churchill used to paint in his depression.
yeah.
I certainly can't do that. The creativity has to be in a certain space before that can flow.
Mm,
But with the writing always seems to be there, and it's a constant thing
yeah.
that I've only just realized that you know that I say I've only just allowed myself to access, I think is the better
Because
term.
it's interesting, you were talking about like before we started the recording about like being a child and that has always been there. It feels like you kind of tapped into what was always there but kind of got hidden along the way.
Yeah, definitely. I was doing a bit of a prompt thing with ChatGPT, because soul growth is something I'm very passionate about as well. Sort of digging down into different things to see what comes up. On one of the prompts led me straight back to that little girl in my childhood bedroom, about 6, 7 years old, playing teachers with my stuffed animals. And at that stage, I couldn't read and write very well. Um, Academically, I wasn't there, but my imagination was.
Mm.
Um, and I can remember not being able to read all these books I put out for my little stuffed animals. So I just made it up. It didn't stop me playing because I couldn't read. And I used to write little stories and little songs. I hadn't got a clue how to write songs. I couldn't spell, but it didn't stop me. And I think that's the bit that I pulled out of that. I just allowed myself to be in my imagination,
Mm.
as where now as an adult, I'm always thinking practically. I'm not giving myself the space to be in my imagination anymore. But
Mm.
writing has allowed that to come back in
I love
and
that.
sit within that creative energy. And
Yeah.
I feel so much different when I do. It does feel like I'm all tingly, and I'm in a completely different space. But yeah, I do battle with the sort of the rational of like, oh, are you just avoiding doing something? I probably am, but actually, the energy, the imagination helps me create. Then it also helps me to get moving afterwards.
Like,
So
so
it's
what is next for you then? Like with all of these different like strings to your bow that you mentioned, I know you're going to do your NLP mastery, which will be amazing. But what like how? Because often like when you like go on all this business coaching and things like that, they say, oh, you need to specialize in something. Like you need to have one person that you're kind of looking at in terms of your ideal client. Like, are you looking to bring all of these together under one umbrella, as in, like, coaching will incorporate all of this, or consulting, or whatever? Or are you going to have, like, just different strings to your bows and offer different services? Like, what's next for you?
Can I be completely honest? I'm not 100% sure. And I very nearly didn't show up today because of this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I haven't got it all together. I'm like what I've called the messy middle of finding my feet with all my different things and how I want to incorporate everything together. but I've shown up today because of what you said about all these business coaching. Then, you need to have this in place, you need to have that. I really struggle with that,
Mm,
trying to sort of toe that line and fit that mold. And I
mm,
know I can't be the only person out there who's feeling overwhelmed with by everyone's way of this is how you do it,
mm,
which can be great. A lot of the information can be helpful, but I think ultimately, you need to do it yourself, and I need to do it myself, and I don't know how that looks right now. Um, but I do have the vision of bringing it all together in some form. I love helping people. That's always been something I've always done, even from a young age. I've always carried a older head on young shoulders, as they used to say. So that's something that comes quite naturally to me anyway. Um, and I'm exploring art therapy to bring
mm,
art into helping people with their nervous system and their belief patterns, and just, helping find their way back to them rather than who they think they
mm.
should be. And writing, I've done a couple of little writing workshops to help people with their imagination. So I think it'll all come together in its own way, but how that looks right now, I can't tell you.
Yeah.
But
And
it's
that kind of well, that kind of goes on to like how people can contact you. So you did mention all of this before in the beginning around like you're not here to like offer coaching services or anything like that. You're here so that people can hear the messy middle and what's happening in the messy middle and how you navigate that. So that also that they can know that you have navigated that and they can do that too, but also they can follow your journey along the way. So how can people contact you if they want to know about the messy middle and also about the other side of the messy middle and following your journey to that?
So yeah, thank you. I do have a website, which is predominantly my art website, but there's other there's things on there how you can contact me. But I do have social medias, and I have all different social medias for different things. So I do tend to keep it separate. So I've got a Linktree link that I can give you to put to attach with this, and they're all there for you to find me, my author, my psychic medium, and my art pages. They're all there, and yeah, it's like I do offer coaching. I just haven't got the polished little
Okay.
uh, web page that people say you should have before you go and do these things. It's a work in progress along with everything else. Um, and I will say that about my social medias as well. I try and keep them updated as I can, but I don't post every day. I post when the energy is right, when it's aligned for me. With the cerebral palsy, I have fatigue as well, so I have to navigate health issues as well as passions, and that they can have a bit of a battle between them. So I show up when I can and when I'm authentic.
I love that.
Otherwise, it's just posting for the sake of posting, and that annoys me.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love it. And so we're coming to an end now. Just one thing came to my mind about like if someone is out there and they're in the messy middle and they're dealing with like chronic fatigue and all of the like multi-passionate, they're getting told all of these things about what they should do or who they should be. What would be like your parting advice or words of like affirmation or whatever it is for someone like that out there?
That's a very good question. One of the most powerful affirmations that I've managed to find for myself to bring myself back to myself is two words: I am.
Mm,
you know and I think when you're in that bit of a lost, messy state, you look for a lot of external
mm,
things to help you, but actually It's you. You are the key. You are the power. It's bringing yourself back to you, being brave enough to take off those masks and being unapologetically
Mm.
you. And it's perfectly okay.
I love that. Thank you so much, Chelsea. It's been amazing
Welcome.
speaking
Thank you
with
for
you.
having me.
And we'll put the links and everything. So if you send me the links, then I'll put them in the description. So anyone watching or listening to this can find Chelsea and follow your journey. Thank you, Chelsea.
Thank you. It's been a